Good afternoon. Happy Friday, LinkedIn friends, Value First Nation. Welcome to another episode of Value First Delivery here with Erin Wiggers. How you doing, Erin?
Doing great. Happy Friday. Looking
Happy
forward
Friday the 13th,
to your patient.
even,
I know.
right? Um,
I'm not
always,
superstitious, but I'm a little stitious.
right? That is fair. 2 months in a row, of course. Glad we could survive.
Right.
Although,
Oh, I didn't
although
even
we're still,
realize it was 2 months in a row.
yeah.
That's weird.
Um, uh, Still time left in the day though, so we'll see what happens.
Right. Right.
In the meantime, we're going to continue our series on value first delivery commitments. Today, we're talking about strengths over standardization. Share my screen real quick. And commitment number 4, we will build on distinctive strengths, not just apply standard methods. We recognize that unique value comes through unique capabilities. We will shape delivery approaches around specific strengths and contexts rather than forcing all work through standardized methodologies that ignore valuable differences. Um, this means we will identify and activate unique capabilities in both provider and customer teams rather than applying generic best practices. We're going to customize approaches to fit organizational culture and existing strengths rather than requiring cultural adaptation to our methodologies. We're going to combine specialized expertise in ways that standard packages cannot, rather than limiting solutions to predetermined offerings. We're going to evolve methodologies based on what works best for specific situations rather than maintaining rigid adherence to proven frameworks. And we're going to challenge best practices that ignore valuable organizational differences rather than assuming one size fits all solutions. And it's hard not to just be so reminded of HubSpot onboarding situations as
That's exactly what comes to my mind as well. Like I as you were reading those, like I was trying not to just nod my head so hard that like it rolls off onto the floor. Um because yeah, it's like the the cookie cutter implementation plan. It seems so odd to me that even became a thing, because the reason most people don't love HubSpot when they have it implemented for them is it's not fit to their business. Like it doesn't work out of the box for most businesses because most businesses are fairly complex and don't just fit into the objects the way they were kind of designed. And what I have always found is it's like the beautiful part of HubSpot is that you can design around people and you can make it user friendly for the actual end users. Not in theory, like in practice, you can make people's lives easier by mirroring the language that they use, or making sure that you're providing kind of like a baseline for everyone to operate from. And so the idea that you would buy HubSpot and it doesn't work out of the box, and then go and have a cookie cutter implementation that's also not going to work out of the box. Yeah, I just don't know how it became a thing. It just seems so counterintuitive to me. Like the whole point of this is to customize it so that people will use it. And yeah, that just seems to have gotten lost a little bit.
yeah. Oh man, it's so well easy for me at this point. But like when you just look at how this has come to pass, it all relates to like just dehumanizing the whole SaaS industry of like from start to finish because what you just described happens because people see HubSpot can do things like lead management and lead scoring. Like, oh yeah, we need to do that. It's like, okay, well, if you're going to use HubSpot, it's going to be can be needs to be done at least in the past, not so much now. Needs to be done a very specific way. Like, here's your stages. These are things you can and can't score on,
Mhm.
right? So if that's what you're buying for, then that's what we're going to deliver. And in order to deliver that, like, here's the 90-day checklist that we're going to go through, and it's not built for your business at all. It's the one that everybody's taken through,
Mhm.
and you're just not paying attention to the human beings involved in either side, like customers or like the people that are needing to implement HubSpot. Uh, you just can't, especially now, you cannot take that into account and do it in some kind of like pre-planned way, right?
Mhm.
Because now, especially now, like when we say distinctive strengths, everybody is one AI conversation away of having a brand new distinctive strength, right?
Mhm.
And that's where, if this has been your game, where you're like, oh, that's for me, that's what I do, so that's my role in this project. Like, you're just setting yourself up for a rough delivery process, because even if they sign the contract, this takes us back to all of the previous commitments. It's like instant remorse, like instant, like, God, this doesn't feel right.
Right.
And if we can't help people move out and lean into that, like, why doesn't it feel right? Oh, you can, yeah, you can do that with AI. So let me help you do that. And now there's this space for doing stuff over here, right?
Mm.
There's always so much opportunity. And if we can't take a moment, and this is also why, like, the current state brief, like that we do for value for scoping, is so important. And
Mm.
that is not just, this is what your HubSpot looks like, right? It's
Mm.
like, this is who is in your organization, and this is what they can do, and this is what they're responsible for. And that's where you start to find, these strengths, and you build around that.
Right. Right. And I think one thing that I'm reminded of often is that a lot of our job is the technology, of course, but there's equal, if not more, work to be done on the human side of things, and humans are emotional, and so like you're almost like selling them a feeling, like you're going to trust your data, you're not going to be frustrated going through your daily processes, and you need to kind of understand how fragile that is. Like, you need to be doing everything possible to achieve that feeling. Um, and even if you're chipping away at it, like, this is not an overnight kind of change, but you do need to be mindful of, like you said, the pieces that are on the board, and how you can build around them and in a scalable kind of way. Um, so yeah, it's very surprisingly human problem for technology implementation people to be dealing with.
And uh, such a good way to say that. Except now it's like, my one of my goals in life, and this is like value first is kind of about that, is like, understand first the current state of this industry is dehumanizing everything to try and like get the next buck, to get the next implementation done, to get the next upgrade. And so if you don't like that, that means we got to humanize some stuff. And that means human management. And like, that's where, uh, like, best practices. And again, this is where, like, if you want to keep going to that route, because AI can certainly help you scale the hell out of some standardized practices, but understand that best practices, like, they're like averaged. It's a solution that has worked, right? But it's averaged across contexts at best,
Mhm,
right? They're designed to be safe.
mhm,
That doesn't necessarily make them effective. And now, any best practice that you see with AI or any kind of results context, it's just so human and organization dependent on whether or not you can do that thing too,
mhm,
right? If it's not somehow based in like first principles, like, okay, like value first in terms of like, does the thing create value? Okay, let's try it. If there's some other like, oh yeah, we're gonna get 200% more lead conversion if we do this on our website because it's AI. Like, nope, that's it's not working in terms of being able to standardize. Now, there's lots of places we can standardize, and you can find it all over Value First. Things like the value path using humanized language,
mhm,
right? That everybody can agree on. Can standardize there all over the place.
mhm,
Um, and that leads to strengths that people probably haven't been revealing in terms of like how they want to take care of customers, what they are capable of.
mhm.
um, and so how have you approached like or what are your thoughts when it comes to best practices and the usual conversations around that?
Yeah, I think, um, best practices, that phrase just reminds me of another phrase, which is the best laid plans, where, like, best practices to me kind of exist in a vacuum. Like, best practices is like all else being equal, these are the best practices. And that, like, all else being equal is the thing that is fundamentally not true. So, um, I think it's helpful to know best practices so that when those things are equal, you can apply them. But you really just need to be able to put them in the right context and realize that, like, these things are not immutable. Like, these are not always true in every case. This is like an average essentially. And I think one of the smartest questions that I get from clients during the sales process that lets me know, like, they're not looking for something like cookie cutter is, what other build outs have you done in my industry, and like what were the similarities and differences essentially. I think that is such a good question because it shows me that, like, you understand that you have an industry specific business model, but it's not going to be the same as every one of your competitors. When somebody says, have you done this before, can we just roll that out, that's a red flag. Because it's like, well, yeah, we did it that way for them because we went through this whole process and, like, figured out what was best for them. And so that might not be true for you. So I think, um, if you can find a way to kind of organically work that into your conversations in, like, your kind of first talks with prospects, um, I think that's a good way to kind of get aligned on some of this, like, underlying foundational knowledge that, like, we're trying to convey without just, like, saying it to them in the sales process, so being able to articulate what an industry typically does, and then a couple of ways you've done it differently, I think really shows that flexibility of, like, yes, there are best practices, and sometimes we do implement similar things, um, but we arrived at those conclusions independently, is the key part.
Yeah, like we're confirming, and like
Right.
all of these like commitments are usually A over B, like not A instead of B, right?
Mhm.
So we're gonna still find ways to standardize where we can because that makes things easier.
Right.
But most of the industry has kind of started there, and everything's got to work out of the box. And can we just plug and play?
Mm.
And uh,
I
it
wish.
works until it doesn't,
Yeah,
right?
like, I really wish it was that easy, but then, I mean, you and me wouldn't have a job if it was that easy,
Right,
so, yeah, I think it's something that, peop we all kind of need to wrap our heads around in the industry.
right. And since we're on this kick, we had a profoundly kickoff yesterday all
Oh, yeah.
about air ops
Mm,
and like just trying to help people understand what's going to be required to successfully like leverage and have success with AI in an organization right now. And usually people in RevOps or HubSpot admin roles are like in the best position to really just take hold of these kinds of roles. I've been working on figuring out StreamYard apparently. But we've been working on like what does the role need to look like?
mhm,
And of course, and so I did an episode with Trisha Miriam. We do a series on AI data or data readiness for AI.
mhm,
And we've been getting into like organizational readiness, like because that's what you need to have the data ready.
mhm.
Um, and we talked about this earlier this week, and she did her job description, right, which was like pretty cookie cutter when she asked Claude to do an AI orchestrator role, and it was all about. I mean, honestly, you like all the words that I was seeing on the page, like I was like, yeah, Erin can do that. Like she's the one that you'd call in for that. But it was all about like just like living in the AI systems, setting those up, understanding like at the deepest of levels of all the developer work that needs to be done. And it's just like, uh, are we not learning from our SaaS past where if you don't involve humans
Right.
in the process, like it doesn't matter how awesome the build is. And what
100.
we're finding is AI cannot overcome all the context gaps created naturally, by humans.
Mm,
And so can we help people? And I've been saying this about HubSpot admins for a while. Like if you don't know how to talk to your colleagues, if you're not good at that part, like good luck getting the adoption you need
oh my gosh.
because you got to manage people at some point, or you need somebody else right there with you that
Right.
can manage those people, right? So this job description is all about like, can you coordinate AI plus humans
Mhm.
to successfully like implement AI in the organization? And it's just a completely different read here,
Right.
right? Like designing AI plus human
Mhm,
workflows. Like I don't know if I've seen that phrase like
mhm.
anywhere. Like it's just automation or it's AI or it's agentic or it's
Right.
like all these things, right? And it's especially when we get into the conversation about production, right? Production level.
Mhm.
And we're dealing with um uh this is where I'm probably getting out of my depth a little bit, but these systems are not deterministic.
Mhm.
So if you think you're gonna get to like 100% uptime and accuracy without humans involved somewhere, like that's you've got a special business model if you
Right.
can get there because it's going to take liberties and it's going to need help. But if you at the same time, if you embrace 95% is okay, and then you know exactly what that 5% that's coming from the humans, like,
Mhm.
man, we're seeing some really wonderful things
Right.
happen, right? But
'Cause
whether
it's
it's 95 and 5 or 50-50, it's always human plus AI, right?
right. It's like the AI orchestrator to me needs to be able to understand the nuances of AI and where what things it's really good at, what things it's not good at, where it needs oversight, where it needs context injection. And you also have to do the exact same thing for the humans. You need to know what the humans are good at, what they're not good at, like where they need supervision, where they need extra context. it is the same problem. It's two sides of the same coin. And so the AI orchestrator role like really needs to be able to like hit either one of those sides at any given time to be able to figure out, how to make the system work for everyone involved. Because what and I've seen this before in trying to implement some like big AI things, or even just like more complex like HubSpot architecture where someone on the team or someone who's expected to use it was not involved in the decision and is going to like actively work against you. And like the human element of like sabotage of like, oh well, the AI is just, it's not good enough, or like it's not doing the things I would do. And so you have to be able to manage those feelings too. Like you need to, like my kind of philosophy coming into any situation where I'm adding technology to a group of people who've been doing something the same way for a very long time is to just kind of like, let's plant a flag in the ground here. I am here to make your job easier. I am not here to tell you what to do. I am not here to, dictate processes to you that you've been doing for years. Like I am here to make things easier. And if everybody understands that, we're going to have a better time doing this. Because I think it's important that people know, like, we're never coming at it from a, like, I'm trying to sell you this piece of software because I get a cut, or like, I'm trying to, um,
Well, we
make you
we are.
follow best practices because that's what I
Yeah.
learned in a book one time.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
we aren't. We aren't for sure. But
right. We
we
aren't.
might
Uh,
find some other people.
for sure. So I think, yeah, it's all part of that like opening conversation that you need to have with people to kind of level set expectations and get everyone on the same page about like, we're really trying to make this system valuable to you, ideally more valuable than what you're putting into it. Like I would like for all of the things that I build to be revenue multipliers and not, things that we pay for as like overhead operating costs. Like I truly
Yeah,
want to
that
add
too.
value to what you're doing with the technology. And um yeah, through that lens, everything looks a little different, I think.
Yeah. No, for sure. And as we're talking about it, like you mentioned, like that's a great preface, by the way. Like, I'm here to make your life simpler. Like, let's make things easy. I also like to make sure everybody has permission to say uh, that I don't know why we do it like that,
Right.
or I don't know why we would do it like that. That doesn't make sense for us. And as I
Mhm.
was thinking about that, like standardization applies like to what you've been doing every day in your business. Like you've standardized, normalized some of these crazy processes
Mhm.
that make no sense, and that gets brought to the table. And so
Mhm.
if you don't give people permission to be like, yeah, I don't know why we do it like that. It would make sense. Like there's a strength being discovered there
Mhm.
of like, yeah, the organization's strength is this, yet we do it
Right.
like this.
Right.
Like, let's not do that anymore. And when you can, like, you have to, like, the knee jerk reaction is like, oh no, that could be like more scope, and we're not ready for that. And
Mhm.
it's just like, meanwhile, the person that brings it up might just be willing to like solve it like
Right.
themselves. And like in that moment, you're like, okay, there's some more strength. And um yeah, let's embrace those things. And we can only get that if there's like this level of pushback on the way things have been done
Mhm.
and best practices. And like it's not to say we want you to start from scratch either, just because you're the business and not like any other business. So everything's got to be customized for you, right?
Mhm.
That's another issue. But the 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 balance in between, um, like now, and this is where AI can be your best friend, or it can just help you be real middle of the road. Like it knows every best practice ever,
Mhm.
right? And if you say that's what you want, like it's gonna give you one.
It'll take you literally
Um,
and give you exactly that.
yeah, but like it's not gonna see your unique, context if you give it to it. Like, and especially capabilities,
Mhm.
right? Which is kind of like one of the superpowers if you do give it a capability that is usually not around,
Mhm.
like in an organization. Such all of a sudden you get some of the most innovative like approaches that you've ever seen because somebody somewhere has probably done it. It just was not in your industry or not in your job role or whatever,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And if we don't take the time to uncover those, which we won't if we are trying to deliver out of the box onboardings and implementations all the time,
Mhm.
right? We're just going to get, more of the same and more
Mhm.
people frustrated with things not working well for them.
For sure. And I think our greatest tool, and maybe it's more of like a me thing, although I think you're probably the same because we're both just nerdy and passionate about what we do. But I think as the person leading the charge to implement the changes, your greatest tool is enthusiasm, um, because that's infectious. And the leading indicator of success on everything else is everyone else's enthusiasm. So if you show up and you're like, hey, I'm going to make things easy, like, talk to me, how can we do that? Get people involved, like this, the light bulbs that you start seeing. And like, I've been on calls where I could see it happen. Like I'm watching this dude's face and his like face lights up. Like I just gave him a Christmas present and he's like, what if we did this other thing? Because if we're not doing that, and it's like, yes, like that's the collaborative, like, vibe that we're trying to have, where everybody's input matters because it's unique to that person, to that business, and it's adding value to what we're trying to create. Um, so yeah, I think, and I'm just a big nerd and get super excited about the things that I build. So it comes very naturally to me. But I think if if that's not something that comes naturally to you, um, if you can kind of get in the mindset of like, how is this going to materially improve their daily operations, and just at least be somewhat jazzed about like, hey, I helped you out with this. um you can kind of chip away at that. You don't have to come in like a big puppy dog like I do, like, oh, look what I brought. So yeah, I think enthusiasm is key to all of this.
Indeed. And apparently, did we talk about the provider disruption last week? Like, I'm trying to think, I'm looking at the notes here that, Claude has provided. Speaking of strengths out of nowhere, it says connect to the provider program disruption. Practitioners who only offer standardized skills are exposed.
Mm,
Those with distinctive capabilities in client context are not.
mhm.
Uh, man, well said, Claude. It's like this is everything. Like there's no again, it's such a switch from the norm of standardized delivery in builds. Um, like in finding that and doing that as a way to like build margin and build scalability, like everything we've ever been taught, right? Um, it's switching, like taking a step back, and if you can put that standardization towards like scoping questions and understanding their business, it's just a different way to standardize.
Right.
And when you know that, because everybody has a distinctive strength now, if
Mhm.
they want it, and that is building with AI. Like
Right.
everybody's got that. So that's why whether you want to or not, like you got to find a way off of this like cookie cutter approach to building
Mhm.
and checking boxes, during delivery. And,
Right.
hopefully this series is helping you. at least think about that, but also do it. And that's where, like, especially in this world where you can talk with AI about anything, like coming at it from these commitments, right? Just like all of a sudden, the decisions you have to make, like if you say, all right, I'm going to commit to, strength instead of standardization, automatically you're in a conversation with somebody and they say, what if we did it like this instead? And now you're just completely open to the right conversation.
Mhm.
Um, and there's just so much value to be had for everybody that has their own experiences and their own expertise to be able to do this stuff,
Mhm.
right? Um, so that brings us to next week, and I think if that's the like if there's a takeaway, like that's it. Like you just have to like be okay with people revealing their strengths, and then just going down the rabbit hole, like if you need to, what's possible now that this new information like
Right.
has surfaced. Next week we're going to talk about commitment number 5. I love how these all fit together.
Mhm, mhm.
Integrate learning throughout implementation. So the strength we just learned about, integrating it into the implementation rather than separating education.
Mhm.
Oh man, I'm excited for that one.
It's gonna be a
So
good
many
one.
ways we could go with that. Um, but yeah, training, enablement during the process.
Right.
It's a must now.
It
Had
can't be an afterthought. Like,
right,
you can't expect, because these are large scale changes, and, if you try to do it all at once at the very end, what you're gonna end up with is a bunch of people who are just overloaded with information, and their brain is gonna pick out what they want and forget the rest. So yeah, it's you wouldn't want to just sit down and read a textbook. I mean, I might because I'm a nerd, but most people don't want to just sit down and read a textbook. Like, you don't want to take in information that's that dense. And so figuring out how to spread that density out across, we just implemented this first part. Let me explain how that works. And then building on that as you go is so much easier than trying to just learn it all at once.
yeah. Especially like when you can take that enthusiasm, like when you can catch those enthusiastic moments
Mhm,
to just build a little bit more knowledge on what, like, oh yeah, if you're excited about that,
mhm,
this is how easy it is to do that
right,
in HubSpot. It's so easy to do this exact same thing over in this spot of
mhm,
HubSpot. And there's just so much that starts to build
right,
off of that. So I'm excited to dig into that with you.
for sure,
Another fun conversation with you, and
definitely.
appreciate you taking the time today, Erin.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Have a great weekend.